it's also sending a message to the players that he's dragged saying, look, you didn't win at our sacred home. You got beaten up by a team that, you should have beaten. You should have beaten. You play that test 10 times, the South Africans win 8 or 9 of them.
I believe the Boks will win. Now, I know I said this last week, and I said that I thought the Boks would win and win easy. I think the Boks will win and win easy in Cape Town. I do.
You've got 6 other nights during the week to have you. This is the one night where you just want to go to the pub with your
guy without girlfriend.
Welcome to the DSPN.
John Walker wins the 1,500 metres gold medal at the Olympic Games.
The All Blacks have won by 29 points tonight.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Martin, Devlin, Lachlan Waugh. DSPN across Rover, Spotify video, Apple Podcasts, DSPN YouTube channel. Thank you so much for supporting us. This week we have cracked 3 million views on YouTube, and 1 million of those coming in the last month alone. So we are so grateful, so thankful. Keep hitting that subscribe button on YouTube for us. It really does help. Today, talking All Black selection. Tomorrow, the team named for the second test versus Argentina, former All Black Ant Strawn, is going to be across the podcast running his expert eye over it. Greg Marto out of Australia as well. You'll find if you go searching. We'll do a tight 5, looking at some of the most major sporting topics of the day. And we start every day the same way.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
There will be no mass changes to the All Black side named tomorrow to face Argentina, round 2 of the Rugby Championship. 1 or 2 players back in after injury, a slight reshuffle on the bench because of the same, and that's it. If you're expecting or wanting to see Leroy Carter start, Tavatawa Nawai in the midfield, or Simon Parker on the side of the scrum, prepare to be disappointed. It's not that any of those names aren't good enough. Of course they are. They wouldn't be in the squad if the selectors didn't believe in them. Are they all test ready, though? I don't know. Only they, Scott Robertson, Jason Ryan, Scott Hansen, can answer that. Are those 3 names, plus the likes of Kyle Preston, good enough to become regular All Black starters? Again, I don't know. Only those guys themselves will ever answer that by the way that they perform when they get given the chance. Getting into the squad is the first step. Impressing the coach in both training and presence is number 2. Having the opportunity, whether it be by outstanding form with the bibs on or because of injury to the incumbent, that's number 3. Let's also remember that Carter, for example, was brought in as injury cover. What this means is there's already several someones ahead of him in the pecking order. So if a change was about to happen, I think it's more likely someone like Narawa gets given a chance before him. This clamour for mass changes is a social media story and nothing else. It's born simply because all of us now have the ability to voice our opinions publicly. Clickbait becomes its own algorithm. Lazy so-called journalism jumps on board, and suddenly we have a debate about something that was probably never more than anything than a pub conversation in the first place. Suddenly it's given oxygen. The team is named tomorrow morning. Tamaiti Williams and Wallace Satiti are back in. Both on, I quote, managed minutes. That's what the coach said on Tuesday. I expect Quinn Tupaia to replace ALB on the bench. That's a straight swap, almost like for like. And finally, did they bring Josh Lord in for Patrick, or do they use Summerpenny as the reserve lock and add another loose forward? Here's the thing. We weren't good enough in that first test to make mass changes. Won a series, the second test is the last chance for the All Blacks to get it right on the field, under load, before South Africa. Which is why, in terms of tomorrow's selection, I believe the selectors will again err on the side of caution. Tight 5 time, Lachlan.
The Tight 5.
That's 5 separate sporting topics of the day. When this guy yells, on to the next topic we go. Before we outline exactly what we're going to be talking about, we will be back broadcasting live post-match All Blacks versus Argentina from Buenos Aires, so do join us. We'll kick it off, within about 5-10 minutes after the game finishes, and spend a good half an hour, 45 minutes just running through our thoughts, and would love yours on it. So send us a comment, tune in, let us know what you think. We're going live, the DSPN post-match. All right. Topics to consider today.
The Tight 5.
Obviously, All Black selections, of which I don't believe there will be that many changes. Chris Wood, named in the Premier League PFA Team of the Year. This is such an honour. I'm going to explain why it is. South Africa versus Australia, Cape Town. The Boks will absolutely blitz them. I'm confident of that. Rabbits and Dragons. Well, what a lemon game. NRL tonight, when you've got 2 massive fixtures tomorrow. Why don't you just flip one round, swap one round, and give us one of those? We'll talk about that. As well as the Women's Rugby World Cup kicks off this weekend. Let's have an early prediction on this. Are the Black Ferns going to repeat? Or is England just way too strong, especially at home at Twiggers?
Yes!
I want to start with Chris Wood because this is such a fantastic story. And we spoke about Chris Wood at the start of the week, and we said, goals 90 and 91, I think, that he scored in the Premier League. So he's going to get 100 at some stage this season, you would expect. Being named in the PFA Team of the Year. The reason this is such an honour is because this is the players' team. So this is the Professional Footballers Association. All of the players that are in the Premier League vote. So he's been voted by his peers as one of the best strikers in the league last year.
Well, essentially one of the best 11 players. Yeah,
Chris Wood, cockadoodle. It's not he's coming off the bench. He's in the team.
Starting. Yeah,
he's alongside Mo Salah.
Well, he's up front with Mo Salah and Alexander Isak from Newcastle.
Yeah.
Virgil van Dijk's in defence.
Yeah.
Declan Rice, I think, is in the team as well.
You're
Some
talking
big names.
about the best players in the Premier League. And Chris Wood.
The best players in the best league.
Yeah.
The hardest league. Where guys like Darwin Núñez couldn't make it. Mm-hmm. Man United player Angel Di Maria couldn't really make it, could he?
Sancho couldn't make it.
Sancho couldn't make it.
Lukaku
Paul Pogba
couldn't really make it. He played well for Everton, couldn't really make it. Pogba, I mean, look, God, the litany of United players. I don't know what else there is to say about Chris Wood apart from congratulations. He is just doing us so proud. If you have grown up in this country with round ball as your favourite sport, this guy is just showing us, like Liam Lawson is, the same thing, that you can make it. Man, it's not meant to happen. You're not meant to wriggle your way through from New Zealand and get to that level. And this guy is scoring goals at the very highest level. So nothing but praise for
and
Chris
the timing
Wood.
is actually really good as well because obviously, at least in Auckland, and we're very good at sort of only really thinking about what's going on in Auckland, being in Auckland. But with Auckland FC and what they've been doing the last year or so, the sport has gone up a notch. And then when you think of not only do we have a team here that's exciting, you've also got, and the Phoenix, but you've also got a player overseas who's doing some amazing things in the toughest, not just the best league, but the toughest league in the world as well.
And they're effectively the Bledisloe Cup of football tests to come against Australia as well. So, yeah.
Do you call football matches tests? Internationals?
Yeah, they're test matches.
Are they?
All Black selections overnight began the show with a big sermon about this. I just think that exercise caution is what the selectors are going to do. And I endorse this as well because the All Blacks did not play so well in that first test that all of a sudden you can make mass changes to the team like Rassie Erasmus has done. That's not how we operate in this country. We've never done that in terms of All Black selection. And what Scott Robertson and Scott Hansen and Jason Ryan are going to be considering, I think, is that this is the last run before we play South Africa. And so this team is probably going to be the side that fronts up against South Africa. There are a couple of injuries, and players coming back, but they really want to make sure their combinations are exact. And in terms of that backline, those guys have yet to click. And so how do you get them to click? You've got to play them again. I think that they've got to be given a second chance. We won the game in the first test. I think that they'll pretty much, apart from the injuries, select those same players again.
Well, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place in a way, as coach Scott Robertson. Now, that's a bit of a silly thing to say when you're talking about the All Blacks because of the embarrassment of riches he has in terms of the players he can select. But look, the backline in particular hasn't been performing, as you say. I think there are some question marks. We need to start drawing a few question marks in pencil over Billy Proctor. No disrespect to him. He is a good player, but at All Blacks level, he hasn't done it quite yet.
To raise the game.
And there are players who aren't in that typical 15 at the moment who are banging on the door and probably think they're worthy of a chance. Timothy Tafatavanawai is one. Quinty Pai is another who we haven't talked a lot about.
I believe he'll be on the bench.
So there are players that he can put in there. The problem is you've got South Africa coming up. So you've got to run out, because he hasn't been able to do it with the injuries to Wallace Satiti and to Marty Williams, you've got to run out your best 15 available. Yeah. But then again, if you slot those two in, Tamaiti and Wallace, is that your best 15? Is Billy Proctor and Jordy Barrett your best option in midfield?
Well, at the moment...
Are Sevu and Rico the two best wingers?
At the moment.
Should Will Jordan go back to the wing and Beauden Barrett go to fullback?
There you go, okay. And then you've got guys like, and I know the clamour for Leroy Carter, obviously, and the clamour for Kyle Preston. It has happened in the past for the All Blacks. We've thrown Michael Jones in, a guy called Michael Jones no one had heard of. All of a sudden came out of nowhere, played the World Cup for New Zealand, was one of the best players in the world. John Kerman was picked for that as well. We have had players. Wallace Satiti came out pretty much of nowhere last year, went to Africa, South Africa, as I will be corrected by our South African friends, and was outstanding. So it can happen. I just don't expect to sway the changes, that's all. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I'd be relatively happy either way. I think if there's mass changes, I actually would be quite excited. I'd also be a bit nervous because he obviously doesn't know who his best team is.
We've got to win this test. We
do.
Yeah.
But also, maybe this is a bit disrespectful to Argentina, but I would much rather us not throw this match, but do things to this match for the betterment of the South African test. I want nothing more than for the All Blacks to beat the Springboks.
It's an All Blacks
I know,
test.
but what if we win this and then the selections aren't right for South Africa?
And what if we win it and they are?
Well, I know, but we don't know. What if that loss to the Wallabies actually is the kick up the arse the Boks need, and they come to New Zealand and they wallop us?
Yeah. I fear, this is the only thing I fear. I mean, I have laughed about that loss all week. I just hope it's not a 57-0 North Harbour 2017. Turning point.
Yeah, because I think they then sacked their coach and then Rasa came in. I think that's what happened after the North Harbour test, or at least soon after it. I can't quite remember, but I don't think it'll be quite like that. But
well, let's talk about that Cape Town test. And again, I believe the Boks will win. Now, I know I said this last week, and I said that I thought the Boks would win and win easy. I think the Boks will win and win easy in Cape Town. I do. I think it was a one-off for Australia. I think that when you look back at that game and watch it again, and I've watched the second half again, they fed off a lot of mistakes. I don't think the South Africans are going to play like that again. I think they're going to be a lot more bruising and a lot more direct. You won't see as many offloads. And they've got Andre Pollard back, which changes the way that they play. And if you remember back to the quarterfinal,
how old is he now, by the way, Pollard? He's already played 3 World Cups. He's going to be probably the next one, which means he would have played 4.
If you remember the quarterfinal against France in Paris, Lubbock started, and he was dragged during that game, and on came Pollard because he couldn't control the game, and Pollard came on, kicked all the goals, they won by a point. Kicked the goal against England, they won by a point. Kicked 4 goals against us in the final.
Yeah, but do you know what they did really well in that test, South Africa, just quickly, which is what they did really well at the start of the Wallabies test, is bomb kicking and then retrieving and then scoring ugly tries off deflections.
Yeah, I just...
Not ugly tries, they scored tries off deflections.
Australia thoroughly deserved that win, taking nothing away, but I just can't get my head around the fact the Boks are going to lose 2 at home.
No, and often when this happens, and it's not just rugby, it's all sport, that when you have sort of matches against one opponent, either in consecutive weeks all close together, there's always a response in the second match. This happened with, the first one that comes to mind actually is New Zealand and France in 2009 when we lost to them at Carisbrooke in the first match since the 07 quarterfinal, which hurt even more, and then we beat them in Wellington a week later. Go back to last year, we lost to Argentina in Christchurch. What happened the next week? It was a huge response. Happened at the World Cup in 2011. We beat up France, and in the final they were a different looking side. So, there's a number of different years where you can pick up with different teams. So I can't imagine that Australia are going to have their way with the South African team from a pace and a movement perspective that they did in the first test.
Yeah, I think they'll struggle to get the ball is what's going to happen.
And also the mass changes. It's not just that Russie thinks these guys are better for this test. It's also sending a message to the players that he's dragged saying, look, you didn't win at our sacred home. You got beaten up by a team that, you should have beaten. You should have beaten. You play that test 10 times, the South Africans win 8 or 9 of them.
At 22-0, let's be honest about this. At 22-0, most of us were thinking this is a 40 or 50 point hiding, right?
Yes.
When it got to 22-5 at half time, how many of us were sitting there thinking, okay, Boks are probably going to score another try in the second half, 29, maybe kick a couple of goals. It's going to be about 36-14 or 15, and they'll just strangle the second half.
The one thing that the Wallabies had going for them is when they did score that try, that was the first time that they had a really nice backline move where the ball didn't go to ground or there wasn't a knock on. It was the first time they actually pulled it off and they scored, and that was the first, when they get it right, they look good. But no, point is, I think there will be an absolute response from the Springboks. I don't think the Wallabies are going to roll over in the manner, say, they did in the first 20, 25 minutes of that first test. I think it'll be competitive, but I think the Springboks will win.
NRL tonight.
Be nice.
Rabbits, Dragons.
Be nice.
Rabbits are 15th, Dragons are 12th. The Dragons, this is their form coming in. 4 losses. They've won the last 2 though, okay? They beat the Titans.
No, they lost last weekend to the Warriors.
Sorry. 4 losses, 2 wins, a loss. That's right. I'm sorry.
Those two,
I was looking at the wrong sheet. Okay, so
those 2 wins though
were against the Raiders.
Yeah,
and the Sharks.
Yeah.
Okay. Souths lost 9 in a row. They've won their last 2 against the Titans and the Eels.
Who's their coach?
My point about this is tomorrow night the NRL have got Panthers, Raiders, Storm, Dogs. Now, it is this simple, okay? Oh, God, that's our Thursday night fixture, Lachlan. What a couple of spoon teams. I tell you what we're going to do. Panthers, Raiders, Storm, Dogs. Why don't we put one of those gun fixtures from tomorrow night in Thursday night and get a massive audience Thursday night? Great idea, Martin. Let's do that. Okay? Yeah. Inform the coaches. The game's changed. How difficult is this?
Can I actually?
Because the NFL do this, right? And
yeah, they do it for the last week of the regular season, I think. Yeah.
What they do is they just have all the fixtures there and they say TBC.
They decide like the day after.
To be confirmed.
Yeah.
So you look at what is the best fixture and you go, that's our money game. Let's put that on the Thursday.
Two things. I love the idea of both these games being on Friday because that is either you're pubbing up. You're booking a table with a few mates at the pub and you're watching both games.
Great for her.
Back to
She
back.
wants to go out for a meal and a nice dinner and everything on
she's
Friday.
got 6 other nights during the week to have you. This is the one night where you just want to go to the pub with your
guy without girlfriend.
Hey.
Guy without girlfriend.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Anyway, point is, that is an awesome Friday night of footy, isn't
Brilliant
it? It's
Friday
absolutely brilliant. So I don't actually mind it being crammed into one night.
It's a meaningless match tonight.
So why they would have like a prime fixture on a Thursday, they would have looked at this thinking that both the Rabbitohs and the Dragons are going to be pushing for the 8 come this time of the season.
Really?
Well, yeah, I think so. I don't think, because the Dragons last year were in the 8 right up until the last couple of rounds, and the Rabbitohs just got Wayne Bennett as their coach, so they probably thought ahead of the season when they did the schedule.
I think it's a traditional fixture, this one, isn't it? South versus St George.
But also, I think from a TV viewership perspective, this would bring in a fair bit because the Rabbitohs will command a pretty decent TV audience, wouldn't they? So I think when they look at why they put things in... Brisbane get games on Friday night at 10 p.m. New Zealand time, so 8 p.m. Australian time.
Because it's a rater.
It's a rater. The Broncos are the biggest club from a supporting perspective in Australia, in the whole comp,
stadium,
right?
People love them.
So I think, I would imagine the Rabbitohs command not as good, but an audience close to it. So that's why they'd think would get a fair. It's like the Dallas Cowboys. Why do the Dallas Cowboys consistently get so many primetime games in the NFL? Because they rate. Same with the Lakers in the NBA.
I just think
they rate. I think it's a similar thing that.
Lemon.
Yeah, but it's a similar thing with the Rabbitohs that they know they're going to rate.
Lemon game. Yes! Finally, Women's Rugby World Cup kicks off this weekend. Yes or no? Are the Black Ferns going?
And I
was even going to ask, are the Black Ferns going to make the final?
No,
yes, they are going to make the final.
You reckon?
Well, there's only 3 teams.
There's 4.
Who's the other one?
Canada, who beat us in New Zealand last year.
Aberration. Oh, that's right.
No, to be fair, Canada are consistently quite a good side.
All right.
It's a bit like the Rugby League World Cup, isn't it? There's 3 or 4 teams, and then there is a bit of a gap. Mm-hmm. So you don't really need to worry too much about results until you get to the semi-finals.
Here's the stat. So the English Red Roses haven't lost in something like 27 or 28 games. In actual fact, extend this backwards, 56 games. The one in the middle was the World Cup final.
World Cup final that they lost to the Black Ferns.
They have gone through like about 28 games unbeaten. Then they lost to us in the final. Now they've gone through another 28 games unbeaten.
Yeah.
This has got to be something that goes on up there, surely.
Yeah.
That's the one thing in our favour is that the fear of losing for them.
No.
Yeah. Psychological.
Sorry, if you flip this around and the Black Ferns were in the same situation, and don't take this as an anti-Black Ferns. Obviously, as a Kiwi, I'd love for us to win the World Cup. But if you flipped it around and New Zealand had won 28 in a row, or unbeaten in 28 in a row, then they lost a tight final to England, and then they won another 28 in a row.
Chokers.
No, but you'd be saying that there is a bee in their bonnet and they are ready.
It's like the All Blacks in between World Cups.
And they're ready to put the world on notice and actually win this World Cup because they didn't win the last one.
All Blacks.
But that's what you'd be saying.
No, I would not be saying we're dominant between World Cups and we go like this when it comes to World Cups. That's what the Poms are.
I totally disagree. I think it's the other side of it. I think they are marching towards this final and they're marching towards that World Cup trophy. I don't think anything's going to stop them. And who's their coach as well? He's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, Mitch.
John Mitchell.
Yeah.
When you're talking about coaches who are the most experienced, who have been all around the world, he's pretty dang good. Black Ferns have a hell of a chance.
How much work is the sports psych guy doing, though, or girl doing with that team every day, isn't it? You just know that half the training session is, listen, forget about what happened last time. It doesn't matter what happened last time.
How many times have they beaten the Black Ferns since?
But not in the game that matters.
No, I know, but I don't like if they lose this final and we're talking about the same situation in 4 years' time. Okay, I'd agree with you, but it's one final where they were up 14-0, got a red card, which was unfortunate.
He always brings this up,
but they were still driving to win the game. I know they lost, but you're acting as though that they choke at every single World Cup, and they've done so.
And
they win every.
Are the Black Ferns going to win?
No, I've told you no already. I said that England are going to win it. If the Black Ferns get to the final, that's a massive win. That is a massive win.
And who wins this weekend? Rugby Championship.
All Blacks. I think it'll be a similar scoreline and a similar manner of victory. I would say South Africa, but I think that game will be competitive. I think the Springboks will end up winning by about 10 to 15 points, but I think that'll be competitive.
Yeah, agree on both counts.
DSPN.